I'd like now, if we want to do some quick sharing, if you guys want to share what you have, we can all learn from each other. And as I said, it's unlikely many of us will ever meet again. So this is as close to an anonymous setting as we're going to get. So the hardest one will go first, I know. And after one person goes, everybody will want to go. So who wants to go first, guys? Let's have a volunteer. Okay, if I don't get one, I'm going to pick a name. Let's see. Prasida, you seem to be very eager with this. Would you like to go first?
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Prasida. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, okay? Just in case you want to share anything with me. There you are, Prasida. Great, I can see you guys now. So do you want to share the screen, or do you want to just call out what they are and I'll make notes and we'll talk about it?
I think I will try to share my screen.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Oh, good. Okay. Right. So interests. We have writing scientific manuscripts, reading papers in my field extensively and intensively. Okay, talk to me about this interest. Why is that your number one? Why do you like doing that?
I love to write, and I would love to, I do a bit of it, but I would like to do more of it. And I feel it's very important for my career to publish the research that I do. So that is right now my number one priority also in my career.
Okay, that's interesting. So we've got two reasons here. One is that you feel that it is important to your career, but that doesn't explain why you like to do it. For example, is it because when you're writing scientific manuscripts, you have complete control, you're not relying on somebody else? Or is it because you like to work alone? You know, does anything there register with you? Would you like to expand a little bit on those thoughts?
I like to work with people who are knowledgeable and with whom I have a certain wavelength, and together we can develop a particular idea and write it up. And so this is also about science communication, and I feel that right now I need to publish more of the work that I have done but not written. And it can be teamwork. It is teamwork, and it can be more of the teamwork. Mm-hmm. It's just that due to my other responsibilities in my current job, I have not been able to do so much of the writing that I love to do and would want to do.
So then would it be fair for me to say then, Prasida, that if I was to come back to you in 5 years' time, after you have written a lot of these scientific manuscripts and caught up with some of the work that you have done to date, that this, at that point, this might not be your number one interest anymore? Is this an interest because you need, this is a need that you are fulfilling? You feel that you have got a lot of back work and you need to publish, otherwise that work will be lost. And in also by publishing, you will be getting recognition too for the work that you have done. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Maybe okay, in 5 years' time,
yeah.
My priorities in terms of my interests would be a little different than it is right now.
Okay. So at the moment, your number one interest is really being dictated by what you consider to be a professional necessity at this time, right? Is that correct?
More of a personal necessity than a professional necessity, I would say.
For personal gratification.
Yes, because I feel that for a researcher, when your ideas go out to the world and when they come back to you in whatever feedback the world has to offer, it is it's a way to it's a way to understand where you are in research, how people are receiving your ideas, and how much more innovation can happen in that particular
Okay.
field of specialization. Yes.
So are you interested in measuring your expertise and what you've achieved at this point in your professional career against colleagues and what they have done? So you want to present what you have done to colleagues and hopefully get positive feedback in return.
Yes, that's one.
Okay,
That
so
yes.
you see, let me explain what I'm struggling with here. You know, we've recognized to a point that your writing of scientific manuscripts and reviewing papers is to a certain extent a necessity for your career, but it's also something personal that you enjoy doing, but you also feel that you need to do it at this point in your career in order to catch up with the work that you have done. But at the same time, too, you're also like, it sounds to me that you want also respect from your peers too. You want recognition from your peers for the work that you've done. Okay, that's perfectly normal thing to want. So would that be a better summation of rather than just writing scientific manuscripts? Because writing scientific manuscripts is an interest in itself if that is what you enjoy doing. But the answer you're giving me is not really that you enjoy writing the manuscripts. You're talking about the different reasons why you are writing the manuscripts. Does that make sense?
The first reason makes more sense than the second one. The second one is there. I would definitely acknowledge it. I feel I like to write and I should do more of it, which I am not doing right now because of being burdened with so many other responsibilities. So
And
I
do you,
think that's more the reason for me right now. And of
okay,
course, the communication and the sharing and the dissemination is always there so that we can collaborate and do, take the discipline forward, sort of.
yeah, so teamwork is important to you as long as you're working with people that you respect and they respect you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So if I was to ask you to look at number one again, and I would say if you were going to change the wording of that based on what we've just spoken about, how would you rewrite that if you were going to rewrite it now? What is your number one interest? Would it be writing scientific manuscripts to bring my career up to date and to work with colleagues with mutual respect?
Yes, yes. That
That
would
prob that,
summarize the
okay.
first interest.
Okay, that's good. So now we've got something that, so the next thing we have then is planning new scientific projects or developing new search directions. Now, that is, if we take where we finished number one, this leads us into number two. So there's a consistency there. So what this is telling me is that, obviously, if we're doing this one-on-one, this will be much longer. I'm not supposed to make suggestions, but we don't have that much time. I'm supposed to get you to say it. But we're just teasing it out. And, you work in psychology too, so I'm not going to play any games with you, and hopefully you won't play any games with me. So we're talking about, it seems to me that you are really interested in collaborative projects where you have not necessarily the leading role, but you want to have a leading role, and you want to work with colleagues. You want to be given the independence to plan new scientific projects or go in new research directions if that opportunity is there, or if you see a scientific need to do so. Am I close to it here?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, so how do you simplify that now for that number two? You need to think about how you simplify that and write it down. So independence and the ability to make choices. You want to have choice and options in your career. That's what number two is telling us, right?
Yes.
See, this
Yes.
allows now you start to feel like this is really more me. This is me now. Designing and performing experiments. This is very similar to the previous one again. So again, we're talking about you have interests. You have lots of things you want to do in the scientific area, so much so that you want to have the freedom and ability to make choices. So maybe really early in this stage, and again, if we were doing this in the proper way, I would not be making any suggestions to you. I would keep talking until you made the suggestion yourself. But one thing that's coming out to me now is you need to look at ways where perhaps you could maybe get your own funding to do your own research, right? Because that then would give you choices. Now we look at mentoring and teaching. This is great. It's great that you want to mentor and teach, because it does seem to me that you believe like you're not somebody who wants to work alone, because you're somebody who needs positive feedback when you're working. I'm the same. I like to get positive feedback when I'm working, because it tells me that I'm on the right track, and it also tells me that I'm working with the right people because they agree with me. Um, so, mentoring and teaching is, something that interests you, but you need to understand yourself why you enjoy mentoring and teaching. It's not just enough to say that, this is an interest I have. You need to understand why that is, because you might have a job where there's no official mentoring or teaching, but there could be a mentoring or teaching of colleagues involved. So when you're thinking about exploring career possibilities, these are the things you need to think about. Number 5, again, is consistent, thinking about science, keeping up the current events. This goes back to number 1, where you're reading papers in your field extensively. So you are obviously very wrapped up in the choice that you have made in your field of research. So that's one good thing, because what I'm getting here is lots and lots of enthusiasm for your chosen profession, which is good. All right. Because it means that you've made a right decision up until this point. It's just that at the moment you feel a little bit constrained in what you can do. You would like to have more options. Again, when it comes to organizing things. So your interests are telling me that, you want to work in a team where there's a lot of mutual respect, where everybody's opinion is valued, and you have a say in the decision making, right? Then you want to be able to pass on your expertise to others and bring the next team along. You want to be able to, plan your own projects, and you want to have enough responsibility where you're organizing things, creating systems, and developing curricula. So, we're looking at essentially reading in between the lines. Would you disagree if I said, the strong interest here in an academic career, a research academic career, Priscilla?
Yes, that is right. And I'm already in that. I teach as well as do research. It's just that I want to take my career to the next level, wherein what you mentioned, I have more freedom, more choice, more funding, infrastructure, all
Okay.
those.
So those things should be coming up in your values. When you talk, you can scroll down a little bit, please. Go down to values. Things like freedom, choice, options, these come into your values. So let's see if that comes up now, because your values have really kind of strayed into your interests. So even though you know what your interests are, you didn't really explain them well until we started to think about them. So your interests are really all about doing what you're doing now, except doing more of it, and then having the choice to choose what aspects you do, and having other people in your team to do the things that you don't necessarily want to, while you teach them and bring them on. Okay, so we look at the values: work on the frontiers of knowledge, engage in the pursuit of knowledge, and generating new ideas. Again, you've got tremendous consistency here in your indicators. Job satisfaction, earning potential, of course. Have a salary that allows me to purchase essentials as well as some of the luxuries in life. Congenial atmosphere. This is something that is congenial atmosphere is something that keeps coming back to us with you now. So your working environment is going to be very, very important to you. The type of people that you're working with, it needs to be an open atmosphere where everybody is free to speak their opinions. So this is what you need to be looking at when you're looking for potential roles in the future. Exercising your competence, like to a certain extent, without actually saying it, your values are also saying, you are an expert in your field and you want to be recognized as such, which is a very normal response for most people. Again, not physically challenging. You want to get paid for what you know, not what you do. You want to have health, retirement, tuition, reimbursement, etc. All of the things that are necessary for a research career. Finally, teamwork comes up here because it's very obvious very early in your interest section that teamwork came up, even though we didn't use that word. And this is why I talk about, if you could apply maybe for your own funding, and then perhaps you can build your own team around you too and have your own team. That's something that a lot of researchers want to do. They're like, and then you're getting into areas like, funding, getting funding and serious things. There's other expertise. People with that expertise can help you in that. And maybe in your own institution, you can get some advice on that too. Help society, contribute to a better world, help others. So you are a people person, which is probably why I think you said earlier you work in something related to psychology. So you find people interesting and you like to interact with people. And again, make decisions, have authority to decide on courses of action. So you want that freedom, you want that ability, and you want responsibility. And you feel that you're ready for it now because you've been doing the work up until now. When it comes to your skills, let's scroll down a little to your skills. Your motivated skills, scientific, right? Scientific.
I'll just a moment, please.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. So, yes.
So your motivated skills, scientific writing, #1 in your interest. So, that's data analysis and interpretation. Again, we're getting consistencies from earlier. And as you can see, all of these are transferable skills too. So if you can't get what you want where you are, because you have so many transferable skills, there are other options open to you. Obviously, there are barriers. We talk about the barriers in a different way. Teaching and mentoring, planning and organizing events. Look at the same things that keep coming up again. You want a position of responsibility and you want a position of authority so you can make decisions and determine the direction of your own research career and your research. Learning new technology, new techniques, personal well-being, broad-based knowledge of science. Again, your answers are very consistent, so there's a lot of pointers there. I think, the development skills we don't need to get into, but if you go back up again, we don't need to go into the skills. If you go back up to your interests and values, we don't have anything on your personality here, but that's not a problem because that's an area of expertise for you anyway. You'll know yourself pretty well. Your interests, as you have written them down, are incredibly accurate, but they're not really interests, if you know what I mean. These are your values and your goals. But at the same time, too, it helps that your #1 interest is writing scientific manuscripts because that is what you want to do. So has this helped to clarify your thinking a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know that I'm pretty much on the right track when you just bounce it back to me that it's very consistent. So I need your set of eyes to sort of go through this and tell me that there is consistency in my interests and values and also my skills, and I can now develop these further into goals.
Yeah, so if you're thinking about, okay, based on what we've just talked about here, I want to develop an action plan for myself where it will finish with me being in a position where I'm working in research and I'm able to control what kind of research I work on. I'm involved with the right people. I'm in the right consortium when it comes to getting funding and everything else. So I can make decisions and I have my own team again, what's very important for you, an open, exchanging work atmosphere, right? So
yes.
With those in mind, you go off and you need to make your plan. And then once you've got your plan made, then you need to come back and get more advice again, just to reality check the plan. Because sometimes when we make a plan, we only see the end goal. We don't see all the little holes and dangers, in between. So thank you for that. That's been great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for going first. Okay, so
my pleasure.
Thank you. So who's next, guys? See, that wasn't so difficult and it was very helpful. And I wasn't mean at all. Who would like to go next? Do we have a volunteer? Hang on, let's see. We got one here. Okay, Lee, let's go for it, please.
Hello.
Hello, Lee.
Yeah, okay, cool. I will share the screen. Do you see it?
I can see the screen. You've started to share your screen, but I don't see any document.
Oh, I guess it's coming up.
That's okay. Don't worry. Don't get flustered. We have time. That's why I'm here.
Oh, I think my Zoom stopped.
Tell
Oh,
me what your values are, Lee. What does your value say?
oh,
Oh, no, we have it now. That's okay.
yeah.
Okay, values, people contact, collaboration, influence, help people, help society, intellectual challenge, exercise competence, recognition, expertise, status, and independence. So, number one value, you definitely are not the type of person, Lee, that wants to work alone. You want to work as part of a team.
Mhm.
Is it important what your status is within that team? Do you want to lead the team,
Oh,
or
good point. I think I like leading the team, but I also want the team to be like non-hierarchical so that we're kind of all equal. So I have worked with organized some like student groups or like activism groups and study groups. And there we were I did like, how you say, recruit and organize. And I like the more role of being facilitator than to like lead and tell them what to do.
I understand. Well, look, the truth is, and you know this as well as I do, Lee, that even in a group that has no hierarchical structure, some of us are more equal than others. Whether it's because of their personality, those who have a strong personality will tend to get their way more than anything else.
Yeah.
But you're probably one of those people, you're happy to let somebody else lead so long as you think you're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as long as you're going in the right direction, you're quite happy to work as part of a team. So teamwork is really important to you as a value, okay? And to a certain extent, I agree with that, because when we experience success or we experience an achievement at work, if you've just done it alone, it's not nearly as good as if you've done it as part of a team where you can all celebrate and be happy with your achievement. You know, there's nothing like that, because it reinforces the group dynamic, it reinforces the group connection, and the group becomes stronger as a result of that moving forward.
Mhm.
Your point number two, again, is people-centered. Actually, now go back up to
Oh, yeah.
values. Yeah. Your number 2 point is, again, people-centric. Influence and help people, get direct feedback of your work and your result, make an impact. Okay. So can I ask, just, you don't need to go into too much detail, what is your area of research?
I research in climate change, impact, and sustainable assessment. Yeah.
Okay, climate change. Now, that's not what I expected, because climate change is not really, obviously climate change affects every human being on the planet. But at the same time too, it's not, when people think climate change, I don't think that as a people job. Now, obviously you work with people and people who have the same interests as you, but you will probably only work with people who are going to have the same interests as you, because climate change, apart from when you're out in the field meeting people and seeing the impact of climate change, you're not really going to be working with people a lot. So is that okay with you? So you're quite happy to work with people, but they will be peers. So they will really only be colleagues and peers. You will really not be doing a lot of work with people outside of your peer group.
Oh, well, I mean, I guess if you work with climate change science, maybe, but I work mostly like more in social impact and also mitigation.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, like you feel that you have a responsibility, and you value making a positive impact to help society. You also want an intellectual challenge. Tell me a little bit about that. What does an intellectual challenge mean to you?
I guess I don't want to do something that is very repetitive.
So you want variety, you want to keep moving
Right.
on to,
Yeah.
so you want to move on to new challenges. Once you've done something, move on to the next thing and build on what you've done in the past.
Yeah.
Now, that is going to be really important for you when you're choosing a role. This is something, because if you're going to be stuck in a routine job
Mhm.
based on what you value and your personality, this is going to make you unhappy.
Yeah.
After maybe 2 years, you're going to feel constricted and you're going to feel like you have no options. So this is an important value for you. Exercise competence. Okay, you want to be able to do what you have been trained to do, and you want to be recognized for it and recognized as an expert. and you want to be independent as well. It's amazing how many of us want to be independent, but so few of us are independent. I was listening to a podcast a couple of days ago. One of the guys in the podcast asked the other people, he said, you know, what is freedom?
Mm-hmm.
And my first thought was, I didn't answer it because I was sitting in a room with listening to earphones. But my first thought was, do you mean freedom of movement or freedom of thought?
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, you as a researcher, you can have lots of freedom of movement. But, and this goes back to Procida earlier, but Procida wants freedom of thought also. And you want freedom of thought too.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, autonomy and independence is important for you because that is the only way that you can be sure that you will avoid repetition and doing the same thing over and over again. So if you're looking at a research career, you need to start thinking now about funding, because it's only funding that will allow you to do what you want to do, unless you go to work for an organization that is doing the type of work that you really want to do. So they're your two options from there, right?
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to interests, working in a team, straight away, number one. So you were a people person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you need to work where you're surrounded by people. Planning and organizing events, you want autonomy. Developing collaborations, again, that's a people-centric point. Mentoring and teaching one-on-one, which can be really rewarding. Like there was a time long ago in my past when I used to sell advertising, and that I don't get nearly as much fulfillment from selling advertising to people who didn't need it and didn't want it. And then I do, then sitting here talking with people like you and Procida, when I finish this in whenever time we finish at, I'm going to feel that I've really done something good today because I think I've helped some people. So that's important to me, right? Leading or supervising others, right? Now, this is something that was suggested in your values, okay? And this is, I don't know how I'm going to broach this subject with you, but I think it's something that you need to recognize in your own personality. I think you know that your opinion is important because you know that you are very good at what you do, but sometimes you're not always confident in giving your opinion.
Yeah, that could
right?
be. Depending on the
Yeah. And I suspect that sometimes you don't necessarily want to be the one who is representing the group or speaking for the group, but you want to talk, you want to have a very close relationship with the person who is speaking for the group or talking for the group, and you want to make sure that they understand exactly how you feel. And to use a kind of an old phrase, you want to be the power behind the throne or the person in the background, not because you're manipulative, because perhaps you are not confident in the big glare of everybody looking at you, but you know you have something worthwhile to say.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Okay, so you need to think, you have the personality and you have the capabilities to be a group or a team leader, but right now I don't know if you necessarily have the confidence to do that. So you need to explore why that is, and you need to think about why that is, because you know that this is something that we could tease out, but you know we don't have the time to get into today. But you don't need to be the leader, which is good. Some people have to be the leader and be seen to be the leader. You're quite happy to be part of the team so long as your views and your opinions are taken into consideration. And that's another very important thing for you to look out for when you're looking for a future role where you will be listened to, where you are not just a soldier, you want to be an officer too. You know, you want to help make decisions.
Right. Yeah.
Does that sound like you?
Oh, yeah, this is really interesting point. Yeah, I think it really depends on the field, but there are places definitely where I kind of want to be in the background rather than be leading. But now that you talk about it, maybe I also kind of feel like for a long term, it will be also nice to be a leader who's good at delegating. Maybe.
Yeah, like sometimes we're sitting at a seminar and we see somebody up and they're making a really good presentation and everybody in the room is listening, and you sit back and say, wow, I'd love to be able to do that. I'd like to be sitting on there. Okay, but then if you're going to be that person, 10 minutes before you take that stage, you're at the back and your stomach is doing somersaults and you're starting to sweat and you're worried about. So if that is the case, the best way to become a good public speaker is to do it as often as possible. You can start by practicing in front of your friends or your family. You know, this could be what I spoke about earlier. This could be one of those disempowering beliefs where you don't think that, you know you can go up and talk and you can give the information and you can make a presentation, but at the moment you feel a little bit uncomfortable doing that. You're not quite ready to take the spotlight yet.
Yeah.
Okay, but I can see there's definitely leadership material in you. You have the potential to be a leader, and it's just right now you just need to develop the confidence to do that.
Okay.
But like I said, you guys are self-selecting. You know, like if I was to get 20 people off the street or 20 researchers picked at random, but you guys all chose to be here. You know, so you're a self-selecting group. So it's not unusual for a lot of your answers to be very similar, because this is the type of people that you are. So we can scroll down now past the interest, please.
Yeah.
Your personality traits, how you interact with others is number one there. You had it as number one. Where am I? Yeah, oh no, sensible. You see yourself as sensible, lively, and clever, interesting, charming, amusing, well-balanced, persuasive talker. Oh, you got the same readout as I did. You got the
yeah.
you got the same score as I did. It's just a question of how. So you see yourself as sensible. That's the number one word, because that word.
When I was doing this, I was kind of torn between, like, do I see myself, or is it the way that I want to be seen? So I guess this is a bit more what I want to be seen.
Yeah, well, okay, well, a sensible person only does sensible things. Like, do you smoke?
No.
Okay. Do you stay up late watching a movie when you know you have to do a lot of work early tomorrow morning?
Yeah, that happens time to time.
Time to time. So you're sensible, but not all the time. You won't do anything crazy. What do you mean when you say lively?
Like having some positive energy and like kind of like more like enjoying life and being, active.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see this as within your career or outside your career?
Now I do a lot outside of my research, but I want it to be more incorporated into my work. Yeah.
Yeah. What type of things do you like to do with your free time?
I organize like book clubs or study groups. Other than that, I also like being alone. So it's a bit mix of two extremes. I don't like going to other people's events or like parties, but I like organizing my own.
Okay. Well, again, this kind of backs up what we were saying earlier on. Like, you have the ability and the capability to be a leader, but you're not quite ready to make that step yet. Okay. Lively. So yeah, so if 5 groups, you and 5 of your friends are sitting around, you might be the one to be bored first, and you might suggest, hey, let's go here or let's go there, while everybody else is just happy to sit around talking. So you would be the one that would suggest, let's do something different. I'm bored now.
Oh, could be. Or I might just go home. I don't know.
Okay, so if you're not doing what you want to do, if the group is not doing what you want to do, you will go home.
I go home, yeah.
Okay, so you need your own group. This is what we're saying.
Yeah.
You need to make your own group. Okay, so again, you're talking from your point of view, at least in an initial step. Maybe you want to think about do some of your own research, or else going to work for an organization that is doing the type of work and research that you want to do. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it doesn't even have to be research per se, right?
No, it doesn't. It definitely doesn't, because the climate crisis has now extended into every area of our society and business. Every company, whether they are serious or not, need to demonstrate that they are climate conscious, because, in terms of being in climate, there are so many opportunities for people in your field at the moment. You're going to have a wide range of fields, and you do have a very specific personality type. You're not a follower. You haven't decided that you're going to be a leader yet, but you do know that you're not a follower.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So simplify your simplify your indicators,
Mhm.
and you know, draw up your plan based on that.
Right.
And then, you know, you need to come back again and then talk about it.
Right.
But I hope that has been helpful.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I like the questions that I never thought about.
Thank you.
And I have just a quick question because
Yes, make it a slow question. It's okay.
I am both interested in pursuing like a postdoc position for get to know like the research a bit more, but also like in industry, like in sustainability, like management or consulting. But the thing is, I was wondering, like, because I'm curious and experiencing both. So if I were to do one first and the other one later, which order is better? I guess many people, or maybe including me also, will probably do it in the order where you get the job first. But if there is an ideal way, is it more difficult to, because many people in industry say, oh, you're gonna go in industry anyways, postdoc is just delaying your time, and it's the employers will not like it. And also, like, if once you're in the industry, maybe it's more difficult to go back to postdoc. So is there any like a golden rule for this?
Well, actually, you have asked a very important question there. So I'm glad it wasn't quick. I'm glad it was slow. Because the answer to that question and the answer to that question, as best as I can give it, applies to everybody sitting with us here today. Because this is a big thing, because we get feedback. Like, let's be honest, the reason we are sitting here today is not because the European Union doesn't want you guys to be professors, but the European Union thinks they have a lot of professors at the moment. And if some of you want to be professors, that's great too. But what they really want you guys to do is to go out into industry and innovate, right? For your circumstance, I think what you need to do is, while you're doing your research, you need to get secondments. So, like, we've been trying to do this with Euraxis, and a lot of our member institutions have been trying to do it also, where their researchers are given 6 months or maybe a year to go work in private industry and to feel what that culture and what it is like and what the expectations are like. Because a lot of researchers, especially if you've been in the same institution that perhaps you might have done your PhD in, you almost become institutionalized. So that when you go to work in the private sector, especially if you do it in your late 20s, you know, at that point, your working habits and your personalities become really formed. A lot of researchers have a big problem making that jump. It's a huge cultural shift. You know, in many cases, you know, researchers are taken great advantage of. You're expected to teach, you're expected to write, you're expected to research, you're expected to do all the other little crappy jobs that nobody else wants to do. You know, you got to clean, you got to look after the laboratory, you got to do all of these other different things, right? But in most cases, the private sector is even more demanding. You know, you may not be doing as many different things, and you might be doing more things that you enjoy doing. Well, the expectation placed on you in many cases is a lot more. So rather than choose between research and industry, I would say within your institution, as soon as possible, at the earliest possible opportunity, if you can, get a secondment to go experience what the private industry is like, just so you can get your expectations in line and know what it is like. Because for a lot of researchers, it really is a huge culture shock if they switch to industry when they're in their late 20s, because they've spent a lot of time then. So as early as possible. And don't forget too, it is so common now for researchers to leave research, go work in industry, and then come back into university and teach in university, and then maybe again go off and do something else with private industry 2 years later.
Right.
You know, so at the moment, there's a lot of to and froing. So I don't think you need to make that choice. But what I do think you need to do is, as soon as possible, experience what it's like to work in industry. You know, because if you do it when you're in your late 20s, you know, at that point, you've got children, you've got lots of other things, and now you've got this boss that wants you to work 50 hours a week. Even though you enjoy the work, you know, it is really demanding, and you know, it's quite a shock to you mentally and physically. So as soon as you can, you know, talk in your institution, or even you could even try to arrange a secondment yourself. If there's a company in your area or in your country or in your city that work in climate change, send them a letter, explain to them what you're doing, saying, I would like to do a secondment. I have really good skills. I've got really good experience that this is what I think I can bring to you, but in return, I want to experience what you have to offer me as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for participating. Okay, guys, who wants to be up next? Anybody else? Come on, I know you want to. Eva, please step up.
Hi, just gonna try to share my screen and
yes,
hope it
Eva,
works.
thank you. Okay, values, flexibility and independence, recognition, financial security, expert status, useful for society, job tranquility. Now, so far, this is the most succinct because you have managed to basically squeeze everything down to one or two words, which makes it very easy for me. Flexibility, you value flexibility. So again, you are one of these people that your worst nightmare would be to be sitting at the same desk doing the same thing day after day. Is that correct?
Definitely.
Yeah, okay. Also, which is quite, for somebody who has invested so much time, so much of your life and so much money in your education, it's quite natural that you would want to have recognition for that. And because you have made all of these sacrifices, you're entitled to financial security. I don't think that's too much to ask either. And again, recognition and expert status is very similar. So you've got a kind of a double thing there. So that's important to you, that, you have confidence in what you do. You believe that you are really good at what you do, and you want to be recognized for that. And you want to, one of the ways to do that is to make a useful and meaningful contribution to society. And when you say job tranquility, that's interesting. Do you say that, does that mean that you want a tranquil atmosphere in your working environment, or that you don't want any nasty surprises? You want to know, like, when I'm working here today, I know what I'm going to be doing 3 months from now. I'm not going to have any surprises. When you say job tranquility, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I think it's on different levels. One, I would say, would be having a sense of control, not necessarily knowing what exactly I will do in 3 months, but definitely knowing there won't be nasty surprises. For example, I don't know, financing finishing in a month because something blew up in a project. But also at the same time, recently, I'm noticing I'm getting worse in stressful situations, or more things are stressing me out. And I think it's a bit in a sense that I would like to, I think it connects to control. So kind of have control over my work and work life. So I feel a bit more relaxed about it.
Okay, you said a couple of really interesting things there that I want to grab. The first thing is control. You use that word control, but control is not in your values, but it is obviously very important. So I think that's something you need to add to your values. Have control, or just the word control. I think you need to add that there, because for those of us who feel the need to have control over their career, it's very important. It's not something that we can negotiate with. For sure, we all have responsibilities in life, and sometimes you have to take the job that's there because the job you want is not available. Okay, but all things being equal, if it is one of those things, if control is necessary for you to be happy in a particular role, well, then that's a value that is important to you. So you need to include it. So you value control and flexibility, recognition, financial security. Okay, so it seems to me that you could get those without necessarily doing research, although research does give you a lot of flexibility. Whereas if you go work in the private sector, you could probably get recognition on financial security, but you don't know how much flexibility or control you will get. So this is why you need to research, not just, you can look in potential fields or potential areas to work in, but once you choose a potential field or an area, then you need to look at the exact organizations. How do they work with their employees? How do they treat their employees? When they take on somebody who is highly qualified and highly skilled like you, do they then give you the independence to go ahead and do something rather than just say, oh no, we have heard you and we just want you to do this. So that's something that's going to be really important for you. When it comes to the interests, we've got investigating and creating projects. Again, this is control and flexibility, organizing and coordination, more control, collaborating. Okay, now this is the first time that you've mentioned other people, right? So this is something that you need to talk about well, because this gives you a hint of the type of working environment that you like to work in. So, you know, for the two previous participants and myself, I like to work as part of a team. There are times when I don't want anybody around me and I like to do my work, but generally speaking, I like to be around a team. I like to laugh when I'm working. Okay, so how important is that for you, collaborating?
I think when it comes to a personal level, maybe less. I like to work alone, at least right now. But I like collaborating on a project in a way that there is more specialists and more input from other perspectives and other people, and also sharing of the responsibility, but also tasks. So more in a sense of like teamwork, not on a social level, but more on a work outputs or substantial level.
Yeah, okay. No, I understand that. But, you know, that's great because that gives you more choice. Because for me, yeah, I could work alone, but I think after 6 months, I'd go crazy, you know? So, but you have options. So you have the ability to work alone and you have the ability to work and collaborate also. So this gives you more choices. So, you know, the fact that you might have to work alone in a particular role would not be a deal breaker for you. So that's good. Traveling, I can definitely empathize with traveling because traveling broadens your horizons. It teaches you new things. And then you want to popularize science. So then that begs the subject, okay, there's going to be increasing opportunities for scientists in media in future years because science and innovation is becoming more technical. They will still need to be explained to common people, the man in the street, people like me. You need to be able to articulate scientific principles in the language of the man in the street. Okay, and that will become increasingly more in demand as years go on. Like in our last virtual seminar, when we were talking about we were doing CV and interview skills, one of the job adverts we looked at was with a fantastic Danish company. Oh, I can't remember the name now. They make all these really cool speakers and stereo systems, but they were looking for a researcher who would go and talk to their customers and talk to the shops who sell their equipment, get some feedback, and then come back and talk to the scientists using scientific language and explaining to them what the customer wants. So you know, and then there will be lots of jobs in media as well for people who can talk in common language about research. So popularizing science. So that is one area that could possibly be open for you, because don't forget, if you're working in media, you could probably get lots of traveling with that too. There's a certain amount of collaboration. You will also be doing a lot of organizing where you travel to, where you go. You will also be organizing how you construct your message and how you deliver your message, right? In terms of personality, we have sensible again, gifted, careful and practical, clever, independent, honest, and ethical. This looks like to me like if I had a daughter, I would want my daughter to marry somebody like this, or my son to marry somebody like sensible, gifted, careful, and practical. Give me an example of what makes you sensible.
I do think through decisions before I make them, and I'm able to do kind of pro-con list in my mind without even writing it down. So in the end, I'm usually happy with whatever I choose or whatever I do.
Okay. Before I go on to the next one, what is your area of research?
Sociology of law and Islamic studies.
Okay. You're going to get lots of travel with that. Okay, so the next thing we look at then is careful and practical, independent, honest and ethical. So that honest and ethical can tell us a lot, because Whereas, what was the one I looked at earlier? Yeah, popularizing science. I said that opens up you know, that opens a lot of opportunities to you. Honest and ethical will limit you, because we live in a world where honesty and ethics is not greatly valued anymore, unfortunately. However, it is a very important personality trait for somebody to have, because when somebody is giving you money to conduct research or putting you in charge of a team, if they know that you are honest and ethical, if that is your reputation, no money in the world can buy that. If that is your self-view of yourself, you should bring it to the fore, demonstrate it as much as possible. Because while most of us like to think we are honest and ethical, when the time comes, sometimes we will make the easy decision. You know, maybe not in work, but sometimes in our personal lives. So, you know, so in terms of, you know, sociology, sociology of law, and, you know, Islam, you've got a huge amount to go on. And I'm really glad and I'm happy that, you know, we have somebody here like yourself who's not here from the traditional hard sciences. Like, my own educational background is actually in history. So I have great empathy for people who could work in sociology, psychology, etc., paleontology. Your personality seems, there's nothing for me really to pick at there. You come across as somebody who has a lot of confidence in your abilities, but this confidence seems to be based on sound evidence. You know what you have achieved up until now, and you are quietly confident that you can meet whatever challenges come to you in the future. And that's why you consider yourself to be clever, because up until this point, there's never been a bad situation where you've nearly always able to find a solution. Do you pride yourself on being somebody who finds solutions to problems?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, well, again, you need to find a way to articulate that, because that is something that all employers value. Somebody who can think outside the box, somebody who's going to, you know, in an honest and ethical manner, solve problems that need to be solved, but find a way to do it. You know, it's something that's really important. So when it comes to skills, we're looking at organizing and coordinating projects. Control, this is control again. Creating project ideas and planning, control. Working in intercultural projects, obviously given your area of study, that's important. Broad-based and cross-disciplinary knowledge. Again, based on what your area of expertise is, I think you will be working with people cross-disciplinary probably your whole career, which is a really interesting thing to do. Like, I love to talk to people who have the same interests and passions that I do, but I also love to talk to people who know things that are related to my topic, but are totally different. Interpretation and analysis of data, communication with the public. Now, you see, popularizing science, communication with the public. I think you need to start thinking about your communication skills, because I think that could definitely be an opportunity for you. Project proposal writing. Thank God somebody likes doing that. I must call you the next time I'm doing a proposal. Representation and professional communication. So, you know, what's coming out to me here now is control and communication. You're somebody who has the confidence to know where you want to go, and, you know, you have the communication skills too. Is what I'm saying making sense to you? Does it ring true to you? Does it sound accurate?
Yes, it does. Thanks.
I sound like one of these guys, you know, in the nightclubs, they have their eyes covered and they're trying to guess a number. Because when I can't see the people in the room, I can't see what your reactions while I'm talking. I can't see if you're smiling or frowning or shaking your head. So I'm really out on a limb here. I'm taking a big risk. So, yeah, so the big thing for you is independence and control and recognition. And a good way to get recognition is to work in media, obviously, popularizing science. And of course, so many people need to be educated about Islam as well, especially in the Western world, where there's so many negative connotations of Islam too. So, you know, not just in media, but in news as well, newspapers, radio, websites. You know, there's lots of political and cultural events, newspapers, etc. And you've got a lot of career possibilities. So you need to kind of think about in terms of what is most important for you. Now, financial security is going to be in there as well, because that's a necessity. That's the world we live in. But I think you've got a lot of possibilities there that you could go forward with and try to come up with a plan based on that.
Thank you.
Have I said anything to you there that surprised you or maybe you haven't thought of before?
I don't think so, but I think generally today, working on the exercises, I definitely found out that I'm more interested in organizational or the control. Yeah, you underlined control, and I think this is very important. And I'm more interested in organizing, coordinating, or communicating than actually, for example, doing the research by myself. Yeah. Which is very important for me. I think this is something I needed to learn and hear and see.
Yeah, you know, it's like I said earlier, you guys are a self-selecting group. Like you guys chose to take this training because you choose to take control of your career. So it should not be a surprise to anybody that people who choose to take control of their career also want a certain amount of control in that career too, because this is what you people are. You are all a self-selecting group. You know, so that's why we're getting a lot of the same things. If we were to have a more diverse group that was selected at random, our results would be much more haphazard. You know, like we wouldn't be getting a lot of the same things coming along. But, you know, I really hope this has been helpful. Do we have time for one more, guys? Do we have one more? Anybody else want to go?
I would like to go if there is time.
Lara, I will make time for you. Please, let's go.
Oh, sorry, Nan, you also wanted. I see you now, but maybe we can make time for both of us. Okay. One moment. I'm not so sure if it's working.
Oh, well, something's happening.
Okay, and maybe I will.
Yeah, already.
Okay, here we go now.
I
Values.
Show myself. Okay.
I can see you are exposed to everybody.
Yeah.
Expert status, that has come up with the others. That's understandable considering the investments that you have made up until this point. Location intrigues me. What do you mean by location?
In here, I wanted to say that I really want to live in a place that I want to live, not just because I have work in there. That
Okay.
I pay most of my interest to my, I don't know, my personal freedom, nice place, nice social status, and not only, so I'm not able to sacrifice a lot.
Okay, so
example, yeah.
Please go, continue.
No, it's just that. So I really want to.
So what that suggests to me is that you place, and for perfectly understandable reasons, you place equal emphasis on your lifestyle and your time out of work as much as you do as your time in work. To you, they're equally important.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes, I would agree on that.
Yeah, so you want a flexible schedule, you want to help society, and you need to be challenged intellectually. So again, you're somebody where routine is not an option. You need to have variety, and you need to have a certain amount of, you know, choice in what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And expert status and recognition comes back to the same thing. So it's important for you to be recognized by your peers as somebody who is a leader in their field. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's again because of, you know, the investment that you have made. That is perfectly understandable, and your lifestyle is important to you too. Now, in terms of location, I'm sure you will have some specific locations in mind. They should be going into your thought process when you're doing your career exploration, and maybe even one of them might even go into your plan. You might decide to choose a specific country that you want to live in 3 years' time. Maybe you want to live in another country in 7 years' time. But think about locations. If that's something that is important to you, a lifestyle, look for opportunities maybe to do a short research contract there, or maybe do some secondment working. Like if there's a country that you have identified. I'm sorry, what is your area of research?
Biology, nature conservation.
Okay. If there's a company or organization that you might get to do a secondment in a location that you have chosen, that will be a great opportunity for you to go and see if that location is as good as you thought it would be. You know, but the things that are coming up from your values are, you want to be recognized within your field, definitely. So that suggests to me that maybe like before we go looking into the other things, I don't know if you're thinking about more in terms of staying in academia or going into going into private industry. But here's a question for you to ask. If you thought that you could be guaranteed more recognition from your peers in either industry or academia, would that be a big factor in you making a decision to go with academia or with private industry?
Well, I guess academia would give me more freedom, and there is more possibility of working independent that I really like to do. I don't like being told what to do all of the time and have to work on something that I don't want to work on. So that's why I also consider academia to give this opportunity more, but I'm not so sure because I have never worked in a private sector. So
yeah. Okay. But obviously the big thing for you is in terms of your values, when you come to take an ownership, obviously recognition from your peers is really important. Obviously, and then location, which we could change for lifestyle, the type of lifestyle that you want to have outside of work, that is really important for you. And you want to have flexibility as well. And part of being recognized as an expert, you could be recognized as an expert because of the help that you give to society. And because, you do see yourself as an expert, your mind requires to be challenged on a regular basis. So you need to be in an atmosphere where you're going to be challenged. Otherwise, you will stagnate and be bored. So when we look at the interest section, you love performing experiments, attending conferences or scientific meetings, analyzing experimental results, discussing science with others, writing scientific manuscripts. Now, this is really interesting because all 5 of these involve you interacting with your peers and colleagues.
Yeah, I'm in a little bit of a conflict because on one hand, I really prefer to do things by my own. I just to get a goal and do it and then discuss it and maybe correct it. But on the other hand, I feel it's no science at all to do everything by myself, and I really like to discuss it, but in a way that it wouldn't maybe oblige me too much to change. I like the free discussion. I mean, maybe I will not to take too much time. I would like to make a question in accordance to my values and interests and all of it, because I'm considering if I start my doctoral studies, I'm wondering so much, should I make my own project or should I involve in some already, I don't know how to say it in English, a running project?
Yeah, a consortium, be part of a consortium.
Yes, because on one hand, I feel that I really like to do things on my own and it would give me my freedom and independence. But on the other hand, I feel that being part of a project, I could actually learn something more and earn more money, maybe if there is a scholarship involved, and it would be like more in an academia style to involve in a project than do something on my own that I'm not fully convinced that has a lot of sense. I have some ideas, but they are not the greatest ones, at least in my mind. So I'm wondering if on the background of my values and interests and these things, would it be better for me to consider involving in a group, in a team working on something, or pursue my own project?
Well, first of all, it depends on where you are in terms of your career. If you have been a part of projects already where you've been part of a consortium or you've represented your institution as part of a consortium, maybe you've already done that. But when it comes to, choosing location and getting recognition, you're not going to get a lot of recognition as part of a consortium. I think you probably already know deep inside that your future lies in individual funding for what you want to do. And this is the other thing that's come to my mind now, because when I look at your interests, everything there involves working with colleagues. I think it would be very useful for you to talk to past researchers who are working in private industry and find out what the life is like for them. Because I think at the moment you are looking at, performing experiments, attending conferences, analyzing experiments, discussing science, writing scientific manuscripts. That all screams academia to me. That just says academia, academia, academia. That's fine. If that is what for you, that's perfect. But however, are there jobs in private industry or roles in private industry that allow you to do this also? Do you know if that is the case? That's something you need to look into.
Okay.
You know, really, you should look into it, because you might be able to satisfy a lot of your interests in private industry. And that in turn would then allow you to maybe travel some more and have more choices. So it's something for you to look at. But, you know, again, biology is one of those degrees where you can do a lot of different things with biology. So you do have a lot of options open to you. When it comes to your personality, you're lively, friendly, enthusiastic. So you don't really like to work alone, even though we've said you kind of do. But yeah, practical, curious is a necessity for any researcher. Calm and fresh. So how do you like to work with others? I do my part and later discuss it with others, final product then correct. Okay. So you like to work with others, and then after you've worked, you like to discuss how the work went so that you can learn for the next time everybody is working together.
Can you repeat? Sorry, because I
yeah, when you said how you like to work with others. I do my part and I like to then afterwards discuss it and correct it so that we can make improvements for next time.
Yes.
Is that's something that you like to do? So again, that suggests to me you like to have a little bit of control too, which is not unusual, because obviously you're a scientist. All you guys are scientists. So, you know, by nature, scientists want to be able to control their own science. So, you know, that's, can you scroll down a little bit more so we can see?
Yeah, I have some rough notes. Should I scroll down to skills or?
Yeah, that's fine. I just like working in a big group at the same time. Yeah, because yeah, it's difficult. Big groups are not really efficient. I understand that. And if you're focused, like you're a fairly focused person, so working with a big group can be really frustrating sometimes, because while you're trying to focus on the work, somebody else is trying to have a conversation about what time we're going to have lunch and what time we're going to finish tomorrow. And for somebody like you, that can be really annoying. So what working environment suits me? Individual work with parts together. What do you mean by with parts together?
Well, I guess it's the same that I like to do some things together, but I don't know. For example, I like to work in the field alone, collect samples, and then go to the lab and do this part together. When somebody can teach me how to do something in the lab, and then we share experiences, and then I do it all by myself.
Okay. So your preferred mode of working is alone, but you need to have access to people who can help you when required.
Yeah.
Okay. You'll get that in private industry also. So in terms of your strengths, you're calm. You can work in an interdisciplinary fashion. No problem in group reading. That's obvious. You can be critical, but in a diplomatic way, without sending anybody home in tears. No crying. Weakness is not lazy. You and I together, nothing like a little bit of self-flagellation. Not up to schedule, delays in responding, hard to maintain my interest and motivation. Okay, hard to maintain your interest and motivation. That means you have a low boredom threshold. That means a low bored. You know, when you get bored,
yes.
I'm bored.
Yes.
That means that you can get bored easily with routine. So again, probably control is important to you too. So you can, so you will have variety, or at least you will dictate. But even if you're doing your own research, there's going to be parts of it that you're going to find incredibly boring, but it has to be done. But you don't express the same need for variety that the other guys did. So perhaps that's maybe not such, a big deal for you. But can you scroll back up again, please? I want to have a look at the earlier notes again. Just a little bit more up to the top.
What do you...
Yeah, up to the values and interests again. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, great. So again, how do you feel? Just looking at values, interests, and personality, and based on what we've discussed now, do you feel that they're an accurate description of you now, or would you change them a little bit?
Well, I'm not so sure, because the first one is maybe more what people tell me. People tell me that they like, I don't know, do projects with me because I'm enthusiastic and I'm smiling a lot, so they want to work.
Right. So stop there. Stop there. They are seeing the external manifestations of you working. But here's the question for you. When you are working in those situations, why are you lively? Why are you friendly? Why are you enthusiastic? The reason is because you want to work with those people and you want them to know that you are somebody who welcomes working with them and you want to get it done. And by being lively and being friendly and being enthusiastic, you also, to a certain extent, take some control over the event, because not everybody is enthusiastic. Some of them will show up sipping a cup of coffee wearing sunglasses. So so being lively and friendly and enthusiastic, talk to yourself, have a conversation there. Why? Why do you do that? Is it your way of gaining control? Is it your way of setting the mood for the group? Because this is the mood that you like to work in. Okay, these, think about that a little bit. The curiosity and the calmness. I don't think there's too much that needs to change there, because you've managed to capture them. But think about it some more and talk to somebody. Like if you have a friend that is really honest with you and tells you when your shirt is horrible or they don't like your shoes, this is the friend you need to talk to, because they know you better than I do. And make sure that before you start your job exploration and you start to explore career possibilities, that your values, your interests, and your personality, you feel they are a very accurate description of you. Your motivated skills, they're the same. They're motivated no matter what. They're the same for everybody. We've written down our motivated skills. But when you write down these values, interests, and personality, play with them until you think, you're really happy. This is me. Because then you have a solid platform to go off, and then you do your job exploration and look at all of the different possibilities that you could have. And then you make up your plan, and then you come back and then you say, okay, here's my plan. Tell me what is wrong with it. What are the dangers? What do I need to look out for? And is this plan realistic? Okay.
Thank you. Yeah,
thank you, Lara. Thank you very much.
I need to consider more the social scale of all of this. Maybe I always thought that I'm really independent, but maybe I'm not that independent.
Oh, look, everybody needs somebody. I'm sure there's a song called that, but I'm sure it is. Yeah, I think we've gone 30 minutes over here now. Have we over our time? Is that correct, Svetlana or Elena?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lara.
We are both here, but we think that from the video that will be available for everyone, these personal consultations at the end of the session will not be edited in the recording anyway.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, guys. So unless anybody has any final questions, I think that's us done for today.
Okay, thank you very much, Dean, for your interesting and inspiring session. You make them think a lot, even me, that I didn't do all the exercises.
We'll talk about your indicators later.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much to everybody. You've been great. You've been a great group to work with, and thank you so much for your input as well and for your questions. Later on today, I will send both the slides and the Euraxis Career Handbook to Svetlana, and she will send it on to the rest of you. So you will have both of them by tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you very much, Dean, for that. And we will be in touch with everyone. There are several other virtual seminars by this month, so we will see each other very soon. Thank you for joining us. Yeah,
I'm doing another one next Wednesday. Yeah, thank you for your kind words, Joanna. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sandra, for your kind encouragement as well. Much appreciated, everybody. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye to everyone. See you soon.